Our favorite Jedi is back, but this time the stakes are all different. In all seriousness, we're here to review the new film, The Marsh King's Daughter. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film, The Marsh King's Daughter, coming to theaters November 3rd. This film stars Daisy Ridley, who really showed off in this film, alongside of Ben Mendelsohn and Gil Birmingham. So three folks that you definitely know, but nonetheless directed by Neil Berger, written by Ellie Smith and Mark Smith. And this is based on the novel by the same name from Karen Dion. So this psychological thriller is totally a must watch. I thought this film was done very good. I really did enjoy Daisy's performance with this. She is the character Helena, who really the beginning of this film, before we actually are introduced to Helena as an adult, we see young Helena with her mother and her father, which her father is definitely not a good person. We'll just start there. But they're off the grid. Her father Jacob and young Helena, they definitely form a bond. I mean, he teaches her basically all his tips and trips in terms of the wilderness, how to survive and protect the family. But with that, you know, there's definitely a very abusive nature, very trigger happy with him. He's just a dangerous guy. But young Helena sees him as innocent, and she loves her dad, and you know, this is, you know, the only thing that she's ever known is her dad and her mother and just being off the grid. Only to find out that they were actually being held captive, and they escaped and just landed her father in jail. So now that we kind of go forward in time, it's been about 10 years since she had talked to her dad. Her dad, now being transported across state lines to a prison, escapes. So everything that she tried to suppress about her past now is on display. The news, the media, everything around her. So with this now, you know, as she has tried to move on with her family, she has a daughter, she has a husband, all of this is catching up, and this just changes everything. One, she's in protective mode because of her daughter, but also survival mode because she knows her dad is going to come for her. And what does that look like? Because her dad, that she almost idolized, her hero at a time, is truly a dangerous man. And you know, even for her mother, who struggled and tried to, you know, readjust back into society. She lost her mother by apparent suicide by this adaptation. It was rough for her. Everything that she had, you know, left and was taken away from, and her trying to get back into that world, it was just too much for her. So she doesn't have her mother. Her dad is who her dad is, and you know, since they have been abducted, it's been over 12 years. You know what I mean? With that being said, the cat's out the bag, everything changes. So that's sort of the landscape of things. As I mentioned, Gil plays the character Clark. As I mentioned, Gil being in this film, Gil plays the character Clark, who's her stepdad. Daisy is adult Helena. And then, as I mentioned, Ben is Jacob Holbrook, the father that has now escaped and is looking for his daughter. So yeah, I was really impressed by Daisy. She did a really fantastic job. I mean, look, this is a psychological thriller, one of my favorite genres, and I think you have to wear a ton of different like faces, demeanors, mannerisms, all those sorts of different things. There's times where she just looks, you know, completely paranoid. There's times where she is, you know, very much in protective mode of her daughter. There's times where she's trying to, you know, fake as if everything's okay. Everything around her is acting as normal, operating as normal, but she isn't internally. And I think she just does a really good job of showing all of those different transitions in terms of the personality and emotions that this character is enduring. And then with that too, I mean, like, listen, and that's just what it is, like the triggers, all of the reminders of her times in her past, the trust issues she has, and you know, she's feeling trapped. She's not sure what role she belongs into. I mean, she grew up in the woods, off the grid, and that was the life she had always known. She was settled with that, and now that that's all sort of a lie, and now she's in society, and with her daughter, she's like, well, which one am I? And also, if folks knew who she was, how would folks actually like, what would be their sort of judgment of who she is? You know what I mean? But yeah, with that, again, confronting her past, the traumas, and she just has to use everything that she's learned from her dad, all those tools of survival in the wilderness to protect her own family. So there's that. And also, I will mention, like, the casting's done very well. I mean, again, you know, with young Helena, Helena's mother, and then obviously adult Helena, I think the likeliness of everybody, the three different actors, I think they all do look very similar. And I think towards the end of the film, when you get a glimpse to kind of see them all together, you will totally agree that they casted very favorably for one another. And it was really great shots. Cinematography was done very good. I did love the location of where the film was shot. It's very suspenseful the entire time. I mean, like, there's a lot of heart in things, but at other moments, like you're definitely on the edge of your seats with paranoia, because you definitely don't want anything to happen to a lot of these characters that are established, knowing that Jacob is out there, and Jacob has no problems, you know, taking matters into his own hands here. But again, I mentioned the final moments I thought was just shot very, very beautifully. It told a story in its own. And I think, you know, without giving anything away, you kind of have to sit here and understand, what does freedom look like for Helena? Like, with everything that she's kind of going through, what does freedom actually look like? As again, I mentioned, she feels trapped and she doesn't know what role she belongs into. And I thought they really told a really good story in terms of just that arc alone, minus all of the events. But with the events, I mean, like, yeah, things are a little unpredictable, because this guy Jacob's a little bit of a hothead and a little bit of a wild card, but at the same time too, like, he knows nature and the wilderness better than anybody, and he's going to send signals and letting his daughter know that he's around even when folks think that he may not. And he definitely sends authorities and everybody on the run, because he pulls out all the tricks for his escape from prison. So nonetheless, I did enjoy this film. I definitely think you should check it out. It's The Marsh King's Daughter. It's in theaters November 3rd. Get in the comments, folks. Let me know your thoughts about this one once you check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.